Risk of offending religious people everywhere. I see it as moving beyond individual religion.
That could be an okay place to start, but don't be afraid to go past it when you reach the point where all of your questions aren't being answered, or maybe you're not being completely satisfied with what you're being told in traditional dogmas.
Well, again, I don't want to tell anybody what to do with their own path, and if they are comfortable and happy within a religion, then that is a beautiful thing, All I can say is what happened on my path, and as a direct result of that awakening at the dinner table, in which I felt direct spiritual experience and direct spiritual communication, which is so different from anything in our normal experience, where language, like someone was sitting across the table from me and talking to me while this was going on, and I could still process language, I could still understand what she was saying, but I just wanted to tell her to shut up because, I wanted the silence, this incredible communion where words are just these like annoying sandpaper, Stone Age squawks. Language, we think language is so eloquent, and I certainly needed it to write that book, but it just doesn't begin to explain. Well, there are no words for spiritual experience. It's so far beyond language, and that's part of the problem, right? You can't really tell anyone what spiritual truth is. You can yak about spiritual truth all day long, you can understand it intellectually and tell other people about it, but that ain't the same thing as experiencing it, as knowing it in your heart. So I'm assuming that a truly enlightened person, and here again, I don't know.
If there is such a thing.
I don't know what I'm talking about, so don't pay any attention. But I'm assuming that person carries that spiritual communion, that essential spiritual experience with them all the time. For me, that was a temporary revelation, and I remember what it was like, but it's not the same thing as being in it. So I am clearly not enlightened. I just had this huge moment where it kind of felt like I was. But coming out of that space, and I don't know how long it lasted, it might have been seconds, but the first thing that happened within it was that time completely dissolved. It didn't just stop. I've had time stop experiences all my life, really, but it just went away like it had never been. So I had no way of judging how long I was in that state of awareness. But afterwards, I just found that I couldn't be satisfied with getting my spiritual juices from reading about someone else's spiritual journey, which in essence is what religion is. One person has direct spiritual experience, they write it down, or their disciples write it down, and it becomes fixed. Their path becomes the path. Mm-hmm. And ain't nothing wrong with that, but in truth, in my experience, everybody's path toward that is their own unique path.
Right.
So if you harbor a desire for enlightenment, which I totally definitely do, no question, that's my number one goal. I don't believe it's possible to get there by following somebody else's path. You can get a long way towards the way there by following somebody else's path, but ultimately you're just going to have to strike out on your own, because it's a wilderness that belongs only to you, and you have to make the decisions within it. So that was a very long way of answering a short question.
No, but it was a good way. It kind of calls to attention the fact that no traditional teaching or even contemporary teaching can drill into you that which you cannot feel and that which you cannot experience. So
drill into you sounds harsh, but I understand what you're saying.
I mean, some of the older
there's no
older
feeling it unless you feel
try to
it.
do that.
Yeah.
And even some of the newer teachings, and the more, they call them evolved teachings, but I don't know how evolved they really are. A lot of times I think we're turning around and getting back on the same road at the previous exit.
But well, I think that the bottom line there is that you can rub shoulders with the truth all day long, and you can try to catch it like a virus, and you can read about it, and you can meditate about it, but It doesn't work that way.
No, it has to.
You have to feel it. You have to
Yes.
experience it yourself. And I didn't fully know that until I experienced it myself. And I'm hungry to do that again and more often, and ultimately to have that be my 100% state of being.
And so the book is a story of how that happened for you. And do you feel that that might inspire others and reassure others and help others to allow that to happen for them?
I think that in the broad sense, what I think this book could do for a whole lot of people, because, let's face it, there are, there's probably a tiny percentage of people who aspire to enlightenment currently in the entire world, but I think this book has a much broader appeal than that, because the degree of unforgiveness and fear and hurt and sense of betrayal that I felt towards the world at large and people in specific really was kind of emotionally crippling for me. And I was not happy. But the healings that occur as a result of this path that I've been on and continue to occur are so incredibly freeing. And that I think that could really be inspirational, and that no matter who the reader is, where they're coming from, they can absolutely relate to that.
Do you think that reconnection is the theme of the book? And can you tell us a little bit about how you think it might help somebody to make that connection back with themselves and reaffirm what they might have lost?
Well, I think that's really kind of great the way that you framed that, because I might not have come up with that on my own, but I think that reconnection with spirit really is the underlying theme of this book. I was completely divorced from any form of intuition. I was not a wise person for a very long time, and I suffered a lot for it, and am quite open with those stories of that early suffering in the book, because if you're going to find out about the later healings, you really need to know what the mess was that's being cleaned up. And I think that these very simple, step-by-step steps that I took could be an inspiration to anybody who wants to reconnect on their own, because there's nothing complicated about the way I did it. And the way I continue to do it, really. And if I can do it, probably anybody can do it. I think that would be a very strong message out of this book, because there is just nothing particularly unusual or special about me and my connection. I just wanted, once I realized how good it felt to have some kind of spiritual connection, I just wanted more.
Well, I've spent some time with you and I've gotten to know you a little bit. And what I think is the fact that there's nothing special about any of the things you mentioned are exactly what makes it as special as it is, and what makes it something that can resonate with a lot of people. Once again, the book is Long Time No See, Diaries of an Unlikely Messenger. A very relevant book for this time. A lot of people are going to really enjoy. Look for it wherever books are sold, or visit www.unlikelymessenger.com.